in this context, yes. What a day. I've been trying through the day to put my arms around everything that was discussed. And my arms kept extending, and finally I gave up. So all I can do is give you some highlights of that caught my attention and also attention of others. I really want to thank Najla and Sarah. Where is she? Yeah, there. Yeah, and Sarah, the other Sarah, for helping in this. But before I try to do this, I want to read you a definition that I will use the word EOSC in it. But this is a definition that was in a report 12 years ago. EOSC was not there, it was something else. And when that definition was written for that something else, it was a slight modification of something else that was 10 years before that. So I'll read it with EOSC. So EOSC is a potentially virtual organization, there is governance, which comprehensively collects, manages, and preserves for the long term, there is the forever of York, digital content, and digital content is Karel's parenthesis, data, publication, software, offering its targeted user communities, plural, specialized functionality, each one is different, on that content of defined quality and according to comprehensive codified policies. I find this being a great definition of EOSC. And yes, this is a policy event, but all the keywords, policy, quality, functionality, and so on and so forth, popped up in a big way. And of course, it is the EOSC system, it was something else system, that has a deployed software system underpinned by a possibly distributed architecture. We didn't talk about architecture, we talk about it in EOSC Future. You can see the scars as we try to figure out what the right architecture is. And in all that, I mean, Ron was great in saying, I didn't want to collaborate. They pushed us to collaborate. But now it turns out to be, after the scars, the blood, sweat, and tears, it works out. So Karel had a dream for 2040. I won't put a date, but I would keep his last recommendation, keep dreaming. Some of it we'll achieve in 2023, some of it in 2030, some of it in 2100. But because the target will also be moving, but we have to keep working with a sound. A few things that caught my attention, Volker, you talked about health data space. It's a brick that you can use it as a weapon to kill people. And EOSC is only mentioned twice, yet EOSC is a data space. And yet, where are the commissioners? Yes. Despite great will and efforts, there is lack of communication. There are things that are repeated. And yes, we have to let a bunch of flowers bloom because trying to do everything, it's not possible. But let's all of us try to collaborate a little bit more, both at the funding level and at the policy level and at the researcher level itself. We need more so that we don't repeat the same things. We don't, at least repeating the same good things is fine, but repeating the same mistakes is not. So I think we need more, and I really this caught my attention. And of course, Ari's complexity of administration was a great highlight in the organizational debt. And I'm a technologist, and I like technological challenges, but compared to the governance challenges, and this pales. So we need to be working on that a lot more. Karel is in favor of a centralized organization with whatever, he gave a caveat, yes, coordination, not ownership, and so on and so forth. Nothing central works in the long term. There is always something else that will pop up. So we have you have to have some direction. You cannot let everyone being in a chaos. So what is the right sweet spot, I think, is something to look for very carefully. The for all and forever I already mentioned. Everyone talked about, and this was a pleasure, that the person, the user, the developer, the administrator should be at the center of everything, with, of course, king and queen to be the researcher. We need the training, we need the education, we need the stewardship, we need new skills. And that is something that we have been working on, but my feeling is, and I get the feeling from everyone else, because everyone was asking for it, that we're not doing enough of that. And I think it has to come more in a more central place in the agenda. Ola mentioned something, whatever Ola is. The requirements in Norway for quality is fair. Fair is not a requirement for data quality. Fair is a requirement for data interaction quality, how you interact with data, to find it, to access it, and so on. It can be pure garbage and can be perfectly fair. And in S3, changing hats a little bit, we worry a lot about the Q that didn't come up with a new acronym to put it in the fair, so it's not there, but the actual quality of the data. And whatever we are doing in EOSC, we have to worry about it. And technologies that were mentioned, like artificial intelligence and data processing at a different level, in interaction with actual researchers who know the semantics of the data, who know what is right and wrong, the clusters, the research infrastructures, who are custodians of guaranteed, hopefully, quality data. The random researcher myself, I can produce data that means nothing, but research infrastructures, it's part of their mandate, what they deal with, what they produce to be high quality. So so fair is a requirement for data interaction with quality of the interaction with the data, not the data itself, and that's important. Josh, GDPR. Yes. It focuses on more or less personal privacy. And anonymization, pseudonymization, they don't work. They are just a first step. You need a lot more advanced technologies. But it's not institutional privacy, I want my data, or national privacy, data sovereignty. How do we deal with that? And GDPR doesn't address this, I absolutely agree. I think we need to help the policymakers go possibly to the next step, or even if they don't, let's provide the right solutions. Let's have cross-border search of data in a way that satisfies the local rules and regulations, but still gives the scientists what we want. Volker again, policies. Policies are passed, but then they are forgotten, they're not applied, you don't have the funding, and so on and so forth. I love the 69 million of the Netherlands. This was a very good pot to work with. I think let's one member state to the next, and associated countries, of course, or countries to be associated, hopefully soon, because there are some that they're still negotiating. Politicians need to understand that this is valuable and it needs investment, and policies without the resources to implement the policies is just a piece of paper. And I'll go back to people. Jörg said incentives to share. Incentives for why researchers should use EOSC. Why should they apply open science? The Commission and in general in Europe, it's a big thing on how to assess research, how to evaluate research. It's a big initiative now in Europe in the right direction, but we need to be convincing lots of people for that. Monitoring of policies. Things are changing. We try and come back. There was a big discussion on monitoring, and I think this is important. And another thing that actually in the definition, when we wrote that definition 12 years ago, it's not, this is about open science, but industry is a major potential user of what we produce in EOSC. And it shouldn't be an afterthought. we should be thinking about it right now as we are developing EOSC, as we have the right policies. Obviously, users from industry will be different from users from academia or research and so on, but we have to have them in the framework and be thinking about their needs. And that, it's a virtuous circle that will arise. The International Virtual Observatory, an amazing example, one of the oldest of interdisciplinarity and collaboration and so on and so forth. Lots of lessons to be learned and then adapted, because what happens with star data, it cannot be applied to patient data in medicine. It's a very different world. Not only on privacy, which is obvious, stars don't have privacy, and unless we discover some aliens, and then it will become even more interesting, but and so on. And another thing that really caught my eye is that there is lots of fragmentation at national level, and although sometimes we say let's look at it locally and we'll find a good solution, it's easier. I think, and I caught this message from a few people, a few presenters, and I agree with that. I think we'll be able to solve our issues easier if we elevate it at the international level. So it's not think global, act local, the known phrase. I think it is think global, think a little bit local, but do global as well. Definitely within Europe, but also internationally. Going there, I think it will be easier to come up with what is best at a national level as well. If there is a takeaway message, is keep collaborating. I mean, EOSC Future, EOSC Association, we're collaborating very well, especially in the observatory and monitoring. Difficult work, grungy work, and the steering board, questions and so on and so forth. But keep collaborating, keep dreaming, and keep chasing happiness. We don't know what happy is in EOSC, but let's keep chasing the definition and then the actuality. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yannis. And this event is now coming to an end. So thank you again for joining, for participating. Safe journey to the city center. Enjoy the terrace. Safe journey home. And see you soon, perhaps at the symposium or perhaps even sooner. Thank you all. Safe travel home.